The scent hit him the moment she walked past. Subtle, expensive, unmistakable. It was the perfume he'd bought her 3 years ago on their anniversary in Paris. The one she kept in the back of her vanity drawer. The one she only wore for special occasions. For them. He looked up from his laptop, taking in the full picture. The black dress that ended mid-thigh, hugging every curve he knew by heart. Her hair cascaded in loose waves over bare shoulders, and her makeup was flawless, smoky eyes, burgundy lips. She looked stunning. She looked like she was going somewhere that mattered. "Girls' night?" he asked, keeping his voice neutral. She didn't meet his eyes as she rummaged through her purse. "Yeah, Sarah's birthday thing. Remember? I mentioned it last week." He did remember. But last week, she'd said it was dinner at an Italian place. Casual. She'd mentioned wearing jeans. The woman standing before him wasn't dressed for a casual birthday dinner with girlfriends. "You look beautiful," he said simply. She glanced at him then, and something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or nervousness. It was gone in an instant, replaced by a practiced smile. "Thanks, babe. Don't wait up. Sarah always goes late when it's her birthday." He nodded, returning his attention to his screen. "Have fun. Tell Sarah I said happy birthday." "I will." She grabbed her keys from the hook, hesitated for just a moment, then walked to where he sat today. She kissed his cheek, a brief, perfunctory gesture. The perfume enveloped him. "Love you." "Love you too." He listened to her heels clicking across the hardwood, the jingle of keys, the soft thud of the door closing. Then the sound of her car starting, backing out of the driveway, disappearing down the street. He sat perfectly still for 5 minutes, staring at nothing. They'd been married for 8 years. Together for 11. He knew her better than anyone, or so he'd thought. He knew she touched her ear when she lied. He knew she avoided eye contact when hiding something. He knew she only wore that particular perfume when she wanted to feel irresistible. Over the past 3 months, things had changed. Subtly at first. She started going to the gym more often, came home later from work. She'd become protective of her phone, taking it everywhere, even to the bathroom. She smiled at texts she quickly dismissed when he entered the room. She'd grown distant in bed, going through the motions but never really there. He'd told himself it was work stress. She'd gotten that promotion, more responsibility, longer hours. He'd been understanding, supportive. He'd convinced himself he was being paranoid, insecure. But that perfume. That goddamn perfume. He opened his laptop and pulled up Google. His fingers hesitated over the keyboard before he typed, "Private investigators near me." Dozens of results appeared. He clicked on the first one with good reviews, Thompson and Associates. Discreet. Professional. Available 24/7. He dialed before he could talk himself out of it. "Thompson and Associates. This is Richard speaking. Hi. I need to hire someone. Tonight, if possible." "What's the nature of the investigation?" He paused, the words feeling foreign in his mouth. "Infidelity. I think my wife is cheating on me." "I'm sorry to hear that, sir. We can absolutely help. I have someone available who can start surveillance immediately if needed. Can you provide details?" He gave them everything, her car make and model, the license plate, her physical description, where she claimed to be going. Richard listened without judgment, taking notes. "We'll have someone on it within the hour. We'll follow her tonight. Document everything. Photos, videos, locations. You'll have a preliminary report by morning." "How much?" Richard quoted him a price that would have made him wince a month ago. Now it seemed like a bargain. You couldn't put a price on the truth. "Do it." After he hung up, he sat in the silence of their home. Their wedding photo smiled at him from the mantel. Her laugh echoed in his memory. He thought about the life they'd built, the future they'd planned. And he wondered when, exactly, it had all become a lie. He didn't sleep. How could he? Instead, he sat in his home office, the clock on the wall ticking away the hours. 11 p.m. Midnight. 1 a.m. His phone sat on the desk in front of him, screen dark, silent. Waiting. At 2:47 a.m., it buzzed. The message was from Richard at Thompson & Associates. Subject has been at the Meridian Hotel downtown since 8:35 p.m. She met with a male approximately 6 feet 1 inch. Dark hair, athletic build. They proceeded to room 412. Subject is still inside. Do you want us to continue surveillance? He stared at the message until the words blurred. Room 412. A hotel room. For over 6 hours. His hands were steady as he typed back. Yes. Document everything. I want photos, videos, times, dates. Everything. Understood. We'll send a full report by 8 a.m. He set the phone down and walked to their bedroom. Her side of the bed was empty, covers still perfectly made from this morning. He opened her nightstand drawer, tissues, hand cream, a novel she'd been reading. Nothing unusual. He moved to her dresser, feeling like an intruder in his own home. In the back of the bottom drawer, beneath a stack of old sweaters, his fingers found it, a second phone. His heart hammered as he pulled it out. It was an older iPhone, something she could have claimed was her old device. He pressed the power button. Dead. Of course it was dead. She was too careful for that. He took it to his office and plugged it into a charger. While he waited, he made coffee, though the sun hadn't yet risen. The house felt different now, like a stage set, everything carefully arranged to create an illusion of happiness. How long had he been living in that illusion? When the phone powered on, it had no passcode. That surprised him until he realized she never expected him to find it. The messages loaded. Hundreds of them, going back 4 months. All to one contact, Jay. Miss you already. Can't wait for Saturday. That thing you did with your tongue. I'm still thinking about it. He's working late again. Can you come over? I think I'm falling for you. Each message was a knife between his ribs. He scrolled through them all, his coffee going cold beside him. There were photos too, her in lingerie he'd never seen, her in what looked like Jay's apartment, her with her head thrown back in laughter at some restaurant. At 6:30 a.m., her car pulled into the driveway. He closed the phone and set it aside, composing himself. He heard her key in the lock, her footsteps in the hallway. She appeared in the doorway of his office, still wearing that black dress, though it was wrinkled now. Her makeup was smudged, her hair messy. You're up early, she said, and he heard the slight edge of nervousness in her voice. Couldn't sleep. How was girls' night? She yawned, stretching. Good. Long Sarah drank way too much. I ended up crashing at her place instead of driving home. Thoughtful of you. Yeah, well, safety first. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm going to shower and get some sleep. Sounds good. He watched her leave, heard the shower start. He picked up her hidden phone again, scrolling to the most recent message, sent at 2:15 a.m. I hate lying to him. But being with you feels so right. 3 more months and I can ask for the divorce. Then we can finally be together. 3 more months. She'd already planned her exit. She was just waiting for the right time, probably after the holidays, maybe after his work bonus came through. She'd get her ducks in a row, consult a lawyer, figure out how to maximize her settlement. His phone buzzed. The email from Thompson & Associates arrived right on schedule. He opened it, downloading the attached files. Photo after photo loaded on his screen. Her car pulling into the Meridian. Her meeting a tall, dark-haired man in the lobby, intimate body language, his hand on her lower back. The two of them entering an elevator. A timestamp. Another photo, grainier but clear enough, taken from across the street through a hotel room window. Her silhouette against the curtains. His. Embracing. Kissing. The report was thorough. The investigator had run the man's license plate from the parking garage. Name, Jordan Cole. Age, 34. Occupation, personal trainer at Elite Fitness. The gym she'd been going to 4 times a week. Of course. It was such a cliché he almost laughed. There were bank statements too. The investigator had done preliminary research. She'd opened a credit card he didn't know about, spending money at hotels, restaurants, lingerie shops, all in the past 4 months. He saved everything to a cloud drive, then to a USB drive, then printed physical copies. He organized it all in a manila folder: photos, messages, bank statements, the investigator's report, everything. By the time she emerged from the shower, wrapped in a towel and heading to bed, he'd already called a divorce attorney. For the next week, he played the role of oblivious husband perfectly. He kissed her goodbye in the mornings. He asked about her day. He suggested they watch their favorite show together. He was attentive, affectionate, normal. And all the while, he was systematically dismantling their life together with the cold efficiency of a surgeon. The attorney, a sharp woman named Diane Foster, had been invaluable. "You have everything you need," she'd said during their first meeting, reviewing the evidence. "Crystal clear infidelity, financial deception. In this state, that matters. We can move quickly if that's what you want." "I want it done," he told her. "Fast and clean." They'd discussed assets. The house was in both names, bought before the marriage, but he'd made the down payment with inheritance money, had documentation proving it. His attorney was confident they could argue for him to keep it. Their savings were joint, but they could trace his contributions versus hers. She'd get something, of course, but not nearly what she'd hoped for when she started planning her exit strategy. He'd also taken her advice about protecting himself. He'd opened a new bank account, started redirecting his paychecks. He'd documented every shared expense, every bill paid, creating a paper trail. He'd changed passwords on important accounts. He'd quietly consulted with HR about removing her from his insurance and benefits. He was methodical, thorough, emotionless. At night, when she lay beside him sleeping, or pretending to sleep, he felt nothing. The man who'd loved her for 11 years had died the moment he smelled that perfume. What remained was someone harder, colder. Someone who understood that sentiment was a luxury he could no longer afford. She, meanwhile, grew more careless. Girls' night happened twice more that week. The investigator documented both. Same hotel. Same man. Same lies when she came home. She'd also grown bolder with her hidden phone. He'd check it periodically when she was in the shower or gone. The messages with Jordan had intensified. "Can't wait until this is all over and I don't have to hide anymore. You're my future. He's just my past hanging on. I never knew I could feel this alive." Each message strengthened his resolve. She wasn't conflicted. She wasn't torn. She'd made her choice months ago. She was just using him now, biding her time, waiting for the optimal moment to blow up his life. Well, he'd beat her to it. On Thursday evening, she announced another outing. "Some of us from work are getting drinks tomorrow night. Team building thing." "Sounds fun," he said from the couch. "You don't mind?" "Why would I mind?" She smiled, relieved. "Great. I'll probably be late." "I'm sure you will." Something in his tone made her glance at him sharply, but his expression remained neutral, focused on the television. After a moment, she shrugged and walked away. Friday morning, while she was at her real job, he went to the bank. He withdrew half of their joint savings, his legal right, and deposited it into his new account. He closed their joint credit cards. He removed her name from his car insurance. He changed the locks on the house, keeping the old keys in his pocket. Then he went home and started packing. Not everything. Just his essentials. Clothes, toiletries, important documents. He loaded them into his car, which he parked down the street. The house would technically be both of theirs until the divorce was finalized, but he wasn't planning on being there when she came home with her lies. He was going to stay at his brother's place. He'd already arranged it. But first, he had one final scene to set. He returned to the house and cleaned it spotless. He ordered her favorite takeout and left it in the fridge with a note. "Thought you might be hungry when you get home. Ush." He set the dining room table for one. A single plate, a single glass of wine already poured, a single napkin. In the center of the table, he placed the manila folder. It was thick now, bloated with evidence. Photos of her and Jordan entering the hotel, leaving the hotel, kissing in his car. Printouts of their messages. Bank statements showing her secret credit card. Cell phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts to his number. The private investigator's report, detailing every girls' night and work drinks for the past 2 weeks. On top of the folder, he placed a single sheet of paper, the divorce petition, already filed with the court. Her copy. Next to that, her hidden phone, fully charged, open to her messages with Jordan. And finally, a handwritten note on their wedding stationery. You only wore that perfume for me. That's how I knew. You're free to be with Jordan now. My attorney will be in touch. Don't contact me. You're past. He looked around the house one final time. The wedding photos. The furniture they'd picked out together. The life they'd built. None of it had been real. Not for months. He picked up his keys and walked out the door. He was at his brother's apartment, 3 miles away, when his phone started exploding. The first call came at 9:47 p.m. He let it go to voicemail. Then another call. Another. Text messages started flooding in. Please pick up. We need to talk. This isn't what it looks like. Please. He silenced his phone and poured himself a whiskey. His brother, Daniel, sat across from him at the kitchen table, watching him with concerned eyes. You okay, man? I'm fine. You don't look fine. He took a long drink. I've been better. But I'll survive. The phone kept lighting up, buzzing silently on the table between them. 20 calls. 30. 47 text messages. She was spiraling, and part of him, a small, petty part, was glad. At 10:15 p.m., she tried a different approach. An email appeared. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But please, let me explain. It's not what the pictures show. Jordan and I are just friends. Please come home so we can talk about this like adults. Just friends. He almost laughed. He forwarded the email to his attorney with a simple note, for the file. At 11:30 p.m., his brother's doorbell rang. They both looked toward the door. You think? Daniel started. Probably. Daniel stood. You want me to tell her to leave? No. I'll handle it. He walked to the door and looked through the peephole. She stood there in sweatpants and a hoodie, her hair pulled back, face blotchy from crying. She looked small. Vulnerable. She was good at that. He opened the door but didn't step aside to let her in. You changed the locks, she said, her voice thick with tears. I did. The bank account is frozen. My cards don't work. I withdrew my half. You can access yours. Our savings. Half of our savings, he corrected, which is legally mine to take. My attorney was very clear about that. Her face crumpled. Please. Can we just talk? 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You can talk from there. She wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. It's not what you think. I think you've been sleeping with your personal trainer for 4 months. I think you've been planning to divorce me. I think you were waiting until after the holidays and my year-end bonus to do it. Am I wrong about any of that? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It just happened. I didn't plan it. But you continued it. Dozens of times. Different hotels. His place. Maybe our house when I was at work. I haven't confirmed that yet, but I'm sure the investigator can find out. Investigator. Her voice cracked. You don't get to have secrets anymore. Not after what you've done. Tears streamed down her face. I made a mistake. A huge, terrible mistake. But I love you. I've always loved you. This thing with Jordan, it was exciting and new and I got caught up in it. It doesn't mean anything. Your messages say otherwise. You're my future. He's just my past hanging on. Ring any bells? She physically recoiled. You read my messages. Every single one. The phone you hid wasn't hidden well enough. That's a violation of what? Our marriage vows? Pretty sure you took care of that already. His voice was calm, almost conversational. That seemed to frighten her more than if he'd yelled. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. You're not going to contact me except through attorneys. The divorce petition has been filed. You were served, legally, properly. I've documented everything. The adultery, the financial deception, all of it. This is insane. You're being insane. Am I? Let me ask you something. When were you going to tell me? After Christmas? After you'd consulted your own attorney and figured out how to maximize your payout? After you'd moved money around and made me look like the bad guy somehow? She said nothing, which was answer enough. I saved you the trouble, he continued. Now you can be with Jordan without the mess of pretending. You're free. Isn't that what you wanted? I don't want a divorce. I want to fix this. There's nothing to fix. It's already broken. It's been broken for months, I just didn't see it. Please. She reached for him, and he stepped back. I'll end it with Jordan. Right now. I'll do whatever you want. Counseling, therapy, whatever. Just please don't do this. He studied her face, looking for sincerity and finding only desperation. She didn't want him back. She wanted to control the narrative, to manage her exit on her terms. She wanted time to protect herself financially, to make him the villain, to paint herself as the victim who'd been driven away by a neglectful husband. He'd seen it before, heard the stories from divorced friends. The script was always the same. No, he said simply. What do you mean, no? I mean no. No counseling. No second chances. No working it out. You made your choice months ago. Now I'm making mine. You can't just give up on 8 years of marriage. I'm not giving up on anything. You already did that. He stepped back and began to close the door. Goodbye. Don't come here again. Wait. He closed the door and locked it. 3 months later, he sat in Diane Foster's office for the final time. The judge signed off on everything, she said, sliding the papers across her desk. The house is yours. Savings split 50-50, as discussed. She gets her car, you get yours. No alimony, given the documented infidelity and relatively short marriage. It's done. He picked up the papers, looking at the official stamp that dissolved 8 years of marriage in a single signature. That's it. That's it. You're officially divorced. He'd expected to feel something, relief, maybe, or sadness, or anger. Instead, he felt only a quiet sense of closure. The wound had already healed. This was just the removal of the last stitch. She tried to fight it, Diane continued. Her attorney made some noise about the private investigator, claimed it was an invasion of privacy. But given that she was using marital funds to finance the affair and had opened secret credit cards, the judge wasn't sympathetic. Frankly, you had one of the cleanest cases I've seen in years. Because she was sloppy. Because you were thorough. Diane smiled. Most people let emotions cloud their judgment. They confront too early, they try to reconcile, they make threats they can't back up. You waited, gathered evidence, and acted decisively. That's rare. He shrugged. I just wanted it over. And it was over. She'd moved out of the house before the locks were changed. He'd given her 1 day to collect her belongings while he stayed at Daniel's. She'd taken her clothes, some furniture, personal items. Everything else stayed. He'd since redecorated, removing every trace of her presence. New paint, new bedding, new photos on the walls. The house was his again in every sense. She'd tried to reach out a few times in those first weeks. Emails he forwarded to Diane without reading. Text messages he blocked. Once, she'd shown up at his work, and security had escorted her out. Eventually, she'd gotten the message. He'd heard through mutual friends, former mutual friends, really, that she and Jordan had broken up within a month. Apparently, the reality of their relationship, when it wasn't forbidden and exciting, had been disappointing. She'd moved in with her sister, taken a different job in another city. Started over, just like he had. What now? Diane asked, collecting her papers. Now? I have no idea. He stood, shaking her hand. But I'll figure it out. Leaving her office, stepping into the bright afternoon sun, he felt lighter than he had in months. The anger that had sustained him through the divorce proceedings had faded, replaced by something quieter. Acceptance. Maybe. Peace. His phone buzzed, not her, never her anymore, but Daniel asking if he wanted to grab dinner. He texted back a yes and walked to his car. That night, at a bar with his brother and a few friends, someone asked if he was dating yet. Not yet, he said. But maybe soon. Good for you, man. You deserve someone better. He thought about that. Did he deserve better? Maybe. But more importantly, he'd learned something valuable. He deserved honesty. Loyalty. Someone who wouldn't hide behind perfume and lies. Someone who'd choose him every day, not just when it was convenient. 2 weeks later, he said yes to a coffee date with a woman from work, Sarah from accounting, who'd asked him out with endearing nervousness. It went well enough that they scheduled another. Then another. He wasn't in love, wasn't even sure he wanted to be yet, but he was open to the possibility. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, he sold the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. He bought a smaller place across town, a modern condo with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the city skyline. He furnished it himself, every piece chosen deliberately, reflecting the person he was becoming rather than the person he'd been. On the anniversary of the night he'd hired the private investigator, he took himself to a nice dinner alone. He ordered expensive wine, a perfect steak, chocolate cake for dessert. He toasted himself, to survival, to strength, to new beginnings. He thought about the man he'd been a year ago, sitting in his home office at 3 a.m, watching evidence of betrayal load onto his screen. That man had been devastated, broken, lost. But that man had also been smart enough to act, brave enough to walk away, and strong enough to rebuild. Sometimes, late at night, he wondered if she ever thought about him. If she regretted what she'd lost. If Jordan had been worth it. But mostly, he didn't wonder at all. He'd learned the hard way that some people were only meant to be in your life temporarily, to teach you lessons you needed to learn. She'd taught him that love without trust was worthless. That actions mattered more than words. That he was stronger than he'd ever known. He'd paid a high price for those lessons. But in the end, they'd been worth it. The perfume had told him everything he needed to know. Everything else had just been confirmation. And now, finally, he was free.